Want to know how to make the most out of your brand name survey questions? Brand name survey questions are so important. They can help you hone in on the perfect name for your business, as well as have a huge impact on your survey response and completion rates. I'm Sissy, and in today's video, we'll discuss the basics of brand name surveys, what metrics to use when measuring them, 10 essential questions you can use, and some helpful tips. Let's get started. The main focus of a brand name survey is to gather feedback from your target audience regarding your brand name. With these types of surveys, you can gauge your audience's opinion from multiple angles, such as appeal, memorability, and originality. Companies will often lean on brand name surveys before a brand launch or when they're rebranding. Brand marketers will typically send additional surveys in tandem, like general branding surveys, to get an overall brand perception. The most effective brand name surveys are created when you know which metrics you want to measure. Here are 6 of the top aspects you should be measuring in your next survey. Appeal. How appealing is your brand name to your target audience? Uniqueness. Does your brand name stand out from your competitors? Pronounceability. Is your brand name easy to pronounce? Purchase intent. Does your brand name do a sufficient job of motivating customers to buy? Relevance. Does your brand name fit within your industry or niche? Does it align with your audience's desires and needs? Trustworthiness. Does your brand sound credible? Now that you know which metrics you want to measure, let's take a look at 10 essential questions you can ask to get those metrics answered, most of which will be completed using a sliding scale metric, scoring from 1 to 10. On a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate the brand name? This is a fundamental question for any brand name survey. You can also add an optional comment box. This allows your respondents the freedom to leave general thoughts and first impressions if they feel so inclined. On a scale from 1 to 10, how unique is the brand name? Your brand name must stand out among the sea of competitors. This question takes the guesswork out of how unique your audience thinks your brand name is. On a scale from 1 to 10, how well does the brand name describe the product? Piggybacking off the last question, you want your name to be unique, but you ultimately want it to be reflective of your product or service. If it doesn't convey what you sell or offer, it may need reworking. On a scale from 1 to 10, how trustworthy does the brand name sound to you? Your brand name should appear to be trustworthy, credible, and authoritative in your given field. On a scale from 1 to 10, how easy is it to pronounce the brand name? Again, you want your brand name to be unique, but not so unique that people can't pronounce it or understand its meaning. After all, word-of-mouth advertising goes a long way, so your audience should be able to easily pronounce it. On a scale from 1 to 10, how memorable is the brand name? As potential customers shop around and compare products or services, you want your brand name to stick with them. You want your brand name to be so unique so your customers can easily remember it. Which of the following words do you think best describes the brand name? With this question, you'll want to include a few options you're hoping people will associate your brand with. You can provide an other option for users to fill in any others that are top of mind. Does the brand name remind you of any existing brands? If so, please specify. You can include 1 or 2 open-ended questions in your brand name survey, and this is an excellent one to include. It can give you a better scope of how relevant your name is for your industry and which potential mix-ups with other brands you can avoid. What do you think of first when you look at the name? First impressions are everything. This question will help you gather your audience's initial impression. Do you have any suggestions about the brand name? This open-ended question is great at crowdsourcing during the naming process. You may not get tons of insightful responses, but you never know. One helpful answer can give you the redirect you didn't know you needed. Aside from adding those 10 questions to your brand name survey, here are 3 additional tips. First, keep your questions short and simple. There's nothing worse or less effective than a lengthy survey. The shorter the survey, the higher the response and completion rates are likely to be. After all, your audience may not have the time, attention span, or desire to spend more than 5 minutes answering your survey. So do them and you a favor. Keep it short. Second, choose which metrics you want to test and focus on those. Although you may want to know everything your target audience has to say, chances are your questions won't cover it all. Instead of casting a wide net, focus on diving deep into a few core metrics. You can always send out another survey during your brand name testing process, but it's best not to overload your audience. Third, consider segmenting your audience. If you find that there are specific groups within your target audience, like age ranges, genders, or locations, then it may be worth your while to gauge those reactions separately. You could even add a demographic brand name survey question to your survey and then create a report of your findings to analyze responses from the varying groups. After doing all of the heavy lifting of specifying your metrics and deciding on your questions, creating the actual survey itself should be pretty easy. And that's made possible with tools like Jotform. With Jotform's Form Builder, you can either use a customizable survey template or create one completely from scratch. The drag and drop tool makes it super easy. And with a wide range of widgets and integrations at hand, your survey making and completing will be a breeze. Branding and rebranding is often a tiresome and challenging process, but it's well worth your effort. Surveying your intended audience is a great way to gain insight into how your brand is being perceived. Once you've built an amazing brand name survey, you'll have all the valuable brand insights you could possibly need. Let's review. When measuring your responses, you want to focus on measuring these metrics: appeal, uniqueness, pronounceability, purchase intent, relevance, and trustworthiness. When creating your questions, use both sliding scale options and open-ended questions to gather helpful information. Lastly, remember these 3 tips. Keep your surveys simple, determine ahead of time which metrics you want to measure, and consider segmenting your audience. Thanks for watching. I'm Sissy with Jotform, and as always, make sure to subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.